Do you have a mob background?
No, I do not. I was involved in a Wall Street stock fraud because I had gotten into a bar fight. I worked very legitimately, very successfully on Wall Street. I got into a bar fight, lost my license. When it said mob linked, there was an incident in my life. They were involved, but that doesn't make me mob linked. They were muscle, they were not part of the day-to-day. I was literally building Trump Towers by day and hunting bin Laden by night. And the only thing that suffered in both of those jobs was sleep. In 20 years, I think I've done a variety of many, many different things with the US government, both with DIA, CIA, FBI, Secret Service, the hunt and kill missions on bin Laden, information about the effectiveness of our airstrikes in Afghanistan, the effectiveness of when boots were on the ground. It's just a wide variety, World Trade Center bombers, financial understanding.
How does a guy from Coney Island, from Brighton Beach, end up with the kind of expertise that can make him useful in Afghanistan?
Sometimes very common people wind up in very uncommon situations.
You know how you operate in those circumstances. How do you do it?
Confidence. 3 Ds, dedication, desire, and devotion. And when you go in with that and you completely put your fear aside, you could accomplish anything. The gentleman that recruited me told me straight out, it's very dangerous and you're on your own, but your country needs you, and if you can do it, get it done. And I did.
Let's just walk through your business life. Just explain, just briefly, the circumstances around Bayrock. So what was your role in Bayrock?
Started with my partner, and it was a real estate development firm, and we started working with the Trump Organization on developing Trump Towers worldwide.
And I want to be clear about this, the circumstances of your meeting Donald Trump. I think you say you went and knocked on his door. Is that how it happened?
Well, we had rented space in the Trump Tower, so our office building was the Trump Tower. And once we were there, I decided to stop and knock on his door and tell him that we should start doing business together.
And how did he respond?
He laughed because I walked in and told him I'm going to be the biggest developer in New York City, and you should get in early now, before it's too late. And he laughed and introduced me to some other members of the staff, and before you know it, we started working together.
Is he fun to be with? Did you enjoy it?
I think what most people don't realize is he's got an amazing sense of humor, and despite what anybody thinks, really doesn't take himself that seriously.
What are his skills?
He's a very good negotiator. He is a fantastic marketer. And he, again, sees the same things that all great developers see, which is envisioning a beautiful building where nothing stood before.
There's a specific set of allegations around Bayrock's operation made by your former employee. Let me just ask you one question about that, which is the allegations made by Jody Kriss in relation to the use of laundered money in Bayrock. Is there any justification, any truth in that?
No.
So the idea that laundered money coming particularly from the former Soviet republics, that is not correct?
It's a lie.
There was a very sophisticated program of marketing to Russians. Obviously, there's a lot of money in...
Not true. Not true.
Brochures are pretty posh.
They're very posh, but we were just as sophisticated about marketing to South America. This whole idea that there is some special admiration for Russia.
And they had a lot of money.
They had money. They're good customers, but we were trying to go after the Brazilians also, who were who were spending and buying units at that time. We try to sell a product. We try to find our customer, and if at that moment the Russians are good customers, then they're good customers.
And do you need to worry, in fact...
This whole conversation about Russia, 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 if you really just peel back and look at it, were we trying to sell to Russians? Yes. Were we trying to sell to Brazilians? Yes. Were we trying to sell to people in El Salvador? No. You know why? They don't have as much money.
How careful is Donald Trump about who he does business with in your experience?
Probably as much as any other real estate developer that I've met.
Which is, does that mean not very much?
No, it means as much as every other real estate developer. They have whatever obligations they have, they follow, and whatever obligations they don't have, it's very interesting to try to put obligations on people when they don't have them.
And did your government work continue throughout this period?
Yes.
So you really were living a double life, weren't you?
In some cases, a triple and a quadruple. It gets complicated sometimes, yes.
So now we're up to the campaign, obviously, is attracting a huge amount of attention, and you're going to have another go at getting a tower built
Yes.
in Moscow. Why were you so interested in Putin's buy-in and getting Trump elected?
Well, clearly building the tallest building in Europe needed support and approval in Russia by the mayor as well as all the way up to Vladimir Putin. So there was a important component of needing to get his buy-in to get this building built and financed, because it had to be financed by local Russian banks. And at the same time, there was a lot of conversations going on in the press about Donald Trump not having any foreign policy experience. And I believe it then, I believe it now, I've always believed it, that through business and commerce, you can achieve a lot more than through politics, where they have meetings about meetings, about the meetings, about the meetings that they're going to have.
So you hooked up with an old buddy of yours, Michael Cohen, to try and put this deal together.
And I said that I would put it together, I would get it done, and he represents the Trump Organization. And I would get it done, and I had a developer in Russia that I would do it with, and we would just put the deal together, just like any other deal. There's nothing special about a Moscow deal that wouldn't be just as special as a Sydney deal.
So how enthusiastic was he in that time?
How enthusiastic was who?
Was Donald Trump about the project?
You'll have to ask Donald Trump, because I didn't speak to him about it directly.
But you must have got a read from Michael Cohen, otherwise you wouldn't put your reputation on the line to start picking up the phone and making the calls if you didn't think you had his buy-in.
Oh, I knew I had to buy in. I spoke to Michael, he said, let's go. That was it, that's all it takes.
And what sort of response did you get from the Russians when you started making your calls?
Yes, they were very interested, and they thought that they could get it done.
So what is it that slowed the project down?
Well, eventually it's the fact that the Trump Organization announced that they're not going to be doing any more international deals, and that's when it died.
Why does Donald Trump say at certain points in his career that he doesn't know you when he does?
You should ask him.
Yeah, but you must understand why he does that.
You should ask him.
But
I don't speak for him.
no, I understand, but you know that it can't be true that he wouldn't recognize you if you were in the room.
You'll have to ask him.
But there are certain times when you've gone a little bit further, which is to acknowledge that it has been somewhat painful for you, for him to do that.
Yes.
So it does cause you discomfort.
No, it's uncomfortable. I agree with you.
What's it like to be caught up in the story of the century? How strange is this?
It feels stranger than anything you could ever imagine. It's just wild. You wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and say, wow, is this really happening?